So let me try to go one by one, sharing from my own personal experience. I hope some of that is meaningful and valuable for you. For those who don't know Printify, we are a software-only platform for print-on-demand products, mainly operating in the United States and around the world. We have about 600-ish employees, out of which about 400-ish is IT engineering, product development, UX, analytics. We have quite big data team, machine learning. We have about 70 investors, all from United States. We have raised about $55 million. So that's shortly about us. And I have had the privilege of being the CEO of this company and the founder. We'll be handing over the CEO role in a couple of weeks. Very, very excited about that. And let me share my experience and to address the questions you helped to create today. So hopefully we'll have some value out of that. Building community, I will go just to... I will start with the burnout and work-life balance, since I just mentioned burnout. I think it's, I would say that grit is the most important success factor for a startup entrepreneur, for any entrepreneur. Grit meaning endurance, ability to endure difficulty for long periods of time, because building a company is just big challenge every day, and especially if you want to be number one on the world level, it is a very difficult challenge. And my experience has been that nobody informed that it's going to be so difficult, and it has been a roller coaster every week, every month, but it has been absolutely rewarding. Have I managed to? I have been very close to burnout. So for me, a burnout is when you close your computer and say, "Fuck this shit! I don't need any more of this," and you just quit. And so I have been very close to that. I think last year when we have had a very ambitious targets, so every single year. And I think last year was one year where we didn't meet the targets, as like the ambitious targets, as much as we wanted to. And so that created a lot of burnout for myself, because you aim high, and then if you don't succeed, then there is only one person to blame. It's yourself for not being that good. So my recommendation is sometimes maybe be easier on yourself, because it's not a one-year show. Things can change and you can reverse things around. And so from my experience, the most helpful thing for me to avoid burnout is working out, doing sports, making sure that you are releasing the cortisol from your organism, and just having a good release of all those stress hormones. Regarding work-life balance, for me, there hasn't been any balance. It has been work, and many kind of cool tech people say that, like, hey, you need work-life balance and it's so important. Well, yes, but if you want to be number one in the world, and if you want to be best, and if you want to raise money from the world's best investors, you have to be better than every one of your competition. Like, imagine when you're in profit. It's like, for me, I compare it to professional sports like NBA or NFL or NHL, where you need to show up every morning to the training and work really hard. And then if you're good, then you get to play in finals. And so it's just like very professional sports. You need to invest a lot of dedication in order to be the best in the world, because that's like what also it sounds like, how many people here are trying or would like to build company? Right, so good half of it, of the audience. And no investor wants to hear that you want to build a small company. Every investor wants to hear that you want to build a huge company, the best in your industry. And so they will want you to be number one, and it will just take a lot of energy. That has been my experience. And I would, if I were to do it again, like now I have a lot more experience and I would be able to balance it better. But doing it first time, there is no other way. You don't have the experience. So um, that has been my experience. If I can recommend you something to be valuable, is have a co-founder. It is really, really helpful to have somebody to share your problems with so you can discuss. Otherwise, it's a very lonely way. I was lucky to have 2 co-founders, so that helped a lot. Also, statistically, it significantly increases your success rate if you are not a solo founder. So that's my biggest recommendation to you. Shared problem is half the problem, so have somebody to share your problem with. Then let's talk about product market fit. For those who care and don't know, product market fit, that's the concept is that imagine market, like that's all the people in a given area, and you segment you can segment the population in different markets, in different segments. And the idea is that for every customer segment, there could be a specific problem. And can your solution solve the problem of that specific customer segment? Otherwise, can your solution solve a product for that specific market? And so, can you find the product that solves a problem for the specific target audience? And how to find the product market fit, that is one of the hardest things how to do. And my biggest so I was lucky that I found the product market fit, meaning I found a problem because I had a problem myself. I was creating a solution for myself. So I wanted my previous startup bankrupted because of too much unsold inventory. So I wanted to do something that is less risky, selling custom products online. I thought I will find on-demand producers that will be easy to connect and I can just start selling. I found a couple of producers in UK, in United States. And so I thought, all right, I need to connect with them. I need to an engineer that helps to integrate with their API. Then I realized I need a order management system. Then I need a image file rendering system where to store those images. And by building those blocks and solutions for myself, I realized, oh wow, this is a real problem. And instead of just selling stuff online myself, I rather try helping other people to solve this problem for them. So I was lucky to find a problem in that way, that it was my own problem. And I also found thousands of other people who had the same problem. My biggest recommendation for anyone starting a startup to find a product market fit is when you have an idea, before you start building anything, just try to pitch your idea to as many people as possible to see if you get what kind of response you get, and try to learn as much as you possible. The best validation you can have for your early idea is that people say, oh, this is awesome. And then there are two, and even better than that is, this is awesome, here's my money. So that people actually are willing to commit to your idea and say that, hey, it's like, if you build it, I'm your first customer, sign me up, I would love to use that product. And don't get me wrong, it's incredibly difficult to find a real opportunity of a problem that nobody has saw yet, and for a problem that is big enough and that it is worth addressing that problem. And then related question, lost customers. Every company, doesn't matter that you have the most beautiful and shiny product, every company loses customers for whatever reason. And what I suggest to you is, these customers are one of your most valuable sources of information. Try to get feedback from those customers, try to interview them, try to get on calls with them personally. We are actually right now in the process of scheduling calls with our customers that have left our platform, I love those calls. They are really, really good because they tell you everything they don't like about you, and how great it can be that somebody honestly tells you what they don't like about you, because then you can go and fix it. And if you can fix it, then that increases the chances that your retention will go up, your metrics will improve, and you can build a better, longer lasting business. And one more thing on this lost customers, why it is so important. Like, if there is something you take away, can again, like those people who want to build a company, raise your hand. All right. How many of you like keep your hand up? Can you keep your hand up? All right. Would you like to build $1 billion business? Yes, good. Nobody lowered the hand. Is there anyone of those people who would not like to be your company, not to become $1 billion business? Great. So there is one thing you need to remember. If you have retention curves of newly signed up customers, the most, like, if you have time here, quantity of customers here, and you have cohort layer cakes that, like, you sign up new customers, the worst thing that and you're signing up new customers every year, what you want to have ideally is a cohort layer cake, that retention rate that is above 100%, that when you sign up users, some users might churn, but in terms of dollars, actually here, instead of quantity, you would rather put dollar value, because in terms of quantity, some users will always churn, but in terms of dollar value, the most valuable companies in the world have positive retention rates. So that means that as the cohorts of users stay longer on the platform, each cohort generates more and more value. The worst, like, for me, when somebody like who has attraction, I would ask them to send me like their customer performance, and there's pretty much one chart that you can look at and say straight away if this is a lasting business or not. If your cohorts look something like this, that all the customers churn after some time, then it's literally impossible for you to build $1 billion business, just because you will never be able to acquire so many customers quick enough to build a long-lasting business. Even if you can acquire customers fast enough, most likely over time your customer acquisition cost will go up so much that it will be so expensive, and your margin, your net profit, will be so low that your investors will look at it and will not find it an attractive long-term business. So retention rate, really, really important. Therefore, talking to your lost customers can be a gold mine. Building community. I'm not an expert on this. I can just share one thing that has helped us. So unlike our competitors, we didn't went for quantity of followers. We went for quality of our followers on Facebook and on other social network. And so what that helped us to do, so if you look like at the number of followers, we don't have so impressive numbers. However, the community that we have are super engaged. And if I can recommend you anything, that is in the very, very, and sounds like you're at the very start, what you need to do is to find like the few people that are absolutely love your product, and that like you can like that they love your product, that they are willing to help you out of just the love for your product, that they don't need any money. For example, make your best customers moderators on your community. Give them some social recognition that, hey, this is like super user status. He's like, these 3 people are super user status, and they help you to moderate. They help you. They are very engaged. They share their personal opinion. That worked for us really, really well, involving those customers who really love your product in the building that community, and that has helped us a lot. And so that if there is, my only advice on this is focus on quality, and over time the quality of building that community will be much more important than the quantity of people that you have in that in the group. Building a team in early days. I will take this one, and then scaling from sort of 0 to 1, or how to get to a company level. So building a team in early days. If I can recommend you something about hiring people in the early days, it is hire people that you cannot afford. Hire people that are so good that you're like, shit, I would so love this person to be on my team, but I just can't afford them, or like they are above my pay grade. Like I can't afford them. Because why? Because if you are building if you want to build like a strong company, like you need really smart people. And in 12-18 months, most likely those people, if you have those smart people, they will help to get your company to the level where you would like your company to be. And so if you have a lot of cash, that helps a lot. Probably at the early days you don't have a lot of cash, so you can't afford those people. So give them stock options, give them some other incentives that will make them come and join your company. That having those people, you don't need every single person to be a rock star, but you need at least a few. If you're the only smart person in the company, then that's a problem. And maybe if you're a solo person, that's okay. But if you are more than one, then you need other smart people. Like I think like in terms of, I think recruitment is probably your most important thing as a founder. Hiring really smart people is key. And at the very early days when you don't have money, like the key for you is how do you hire so smart, like really smart people that you can't afford. So that's like my recommendation in very early days. I used to think that I will never have a team bigger than 26 people. Now we have about 600. Things change. I thought that 26 is like the size about where you can be in control, you can like manage everything. That changes pretty quickly. You have to learn to, and you need those smart people because you will need to give up the control. And yeah, I can. Stock options. I think stock options is the best thing. If you have a really compelling idea that you can pitch to people, and if you can convince them that this can become something really big, and you can come and help me to build it, and you will get a meaningful upside in this idea, I think that's really meaningful. And that way you're also, in my experience, so at Printify we don't give any bonuses. We don't have like cash bonuses. My personal opinion is that bonuses just complicate the structure so much. People then start optimizing for your individual incentive. It creates politics in the company, and it takes so much effort from the manager to create incentive plan for every single employee that it's just not worth the effort. What has worked really well for us and many other people that I know is to give stock options for every employee, and that way your incentives are aligned. That way everyone's interest is to build huge, super successful company, and there is no politics. Like people who join Printify praises that we have one of the least political companies that they have ever worked for, or the least political. And so it's really in my experience, it has been really helpful for the company culture to have very aligned incentives, avoid politics, avoid spending time on creating complicated incentive structures. Any other questions around this? I think the rule of thumb at the very start is 10% by default. Like that's also when you try to raise your seed round, A round, professional investors will expect that. Andres, I guess, can confirm it. There are different ways. No one perfect. I can share like high level what we have done. So in early days, when you need those super smart people, you just negotiate. You need to sell them your idea, and then you need to convince them. So it will be just negotiation. And for key people, giving like one, like it depends really on the stage of your idea. But let's say you already have some traction, having some good people, like giving 1%, like giving even 2%, shouldn't be shy about it. So because like your company is just a bunch of people, and your company is as good as those people working in your team. So like my strong belief is that it's incredibly important to have really smart people, and if you have smart people all working for the same goal, you can build really great things together. So I would encourage not to be shy about giving out stock options. And one more thing that has worked out also well for us is that we, for the stock options, what we have done is that tie the vesting of the stock options. So the general, like a very typical stock option vesting is 4-year vesting with 1-year cliff. So for those who don't know, it means that, like, let's say you get 100 shares vesting over 1 year, 25 shares vest after 1 year, and then monthly additional amount vests until you get the 100 shares. What I suggest to people to do is to allocate part of the shares vesting to the time-based vesting, but another part allocated to KPI. So if we grow the company to this level, automatically X amount of shares vest. If we grow to milestone 2, additional options vest, and if we grow to milestone 3, additional milestones vest. So that has worked is really, really well. And some people have made really nice money in shorter time than it would be if it was just time-based vesting. So if you get really smart, hardworking people, they will like this type of incentive package. And that way, it's also fair that if somebody joins and they are not performing, then by the time you let go, they haven't vested a bunch of shares because their KPIs wouldn't be reached yet. And regarding that, so for senior people, it will be higher. And then what we have done also is we created a scheme that your options are calculated based on your salary. So at our stage, what we do right now is we calculate that your options would be additional 100% on top of your salary. So let's say if you make over 4 years, you make 300K, whatever the number is, then the planned stock option value in the future is additional 300K. So it's almost like getting your second salary in form of stock on the future value. So it's a bit of speculation, and we have also created sort of like a calculator that you can play around, like with what you believe could be the expected future value. So yeah, our finance team put together different scenarios, and then the individual can kind of allocate weights which scenario they believe more. One more thing I recommend in early days, it is like some will give you advice that one way of like compensating people is that you can give them titles. Titles don't cost anything, and if somebody is joining your company, you can say you will be director or you will be like VP, and like it will be on your portfolio. I going through like my experience, I recommend not to do that, because if your company will grow, and that should be the goal for every one of you, is that once your company grow and you understand that like you need somebody stronger in that role, it's really hard to take that title away from that person. And if you already have given out director or VP, it will just screw up your HR logic, how you assign titles to the company. So what we did is at one point is that we didn't create directors, VPs. We just had leads and heads. And it could be that you have like a head is reporting into another head of a department. And some people were a bit maybe dissatisfied with that, but at least we didn't have like a lot of politics around titles and like what is your influence level, and like should I do actual work or should I be just leading people. So that has been my experience. And I have heard similar stories from other founders doing the same. Good on the early startup team building. Social media strategy. I'm not a strategy guru on social media, but I can share what has worked for us on social media. It's working great for us. And what we realized is that we had been working on it for quite some time. We had a team working on partnerships, influencer partnerships, social media engagement, and we didn't have a lot of traction until very recently, when this is like we are firing on all cylinders on social media. And what we realized is that you sort of like, if there are different attributes that matter to your industry, like for us it is price of the products, it's delivery speed, how quickly you can deliver your products to the customers, it is the quality of the products, it's the selection that you offer. And what we learned is that you need to reach a level where your product is really sexy to talk about in order for viral marketing to work. We have been trying like viral marketing for quite a long time. Now it is really working for us. We have tens of millions of social media views every month through social media strategies. And a key point for us to make it work was to reach a point of level where your product becomes attractive to talk about. And until that, we were trying and it didn't work. But the most important, like the key part also, is that you're trying. If you don't try, you're guaranteed it won't work. But if you try for a very long time and at some point your product is interesting enough to talk about it, then you can uh, get successful with social media strategy. Also, if I can say on the social media strategy, I'm very numbers driven. Like if you can show me the data, how, like what's the customer acquisition cost, what's the LTV, why would we spend any marketing dollars on that? And so in the early years, I didn't invest anything on building brand, on building messaging. Now we are very lucky to have extraordinarily smart people on smart person on brand who is changing our brand messaging, brand communication, brand image, so that we better talk to our customer. And that is where, like, that is having significant impact. Like that I learned from my own personal mistake, that having like brand is not about, like for me when I thought about brand in the past, it was about the colors, like what kind of colors you have on your website and how cool it looks. Like for me now, I have completely changed my understanding of a brand. And my definition of a brand is that brand is about, instead of being something for everyone, building a brand is being everything for someone. Instead of being something for everyone, you are everything for someone. So that you are very clear about who your customer is, and you're trying to address all the key problems that these customers have, so that for that one customer you have the perfect solution. And your brand is communicating and messaging and speaking directly to that customer. And that, I think, is also another very important part to make your social media strategy work, so that you have a product that is everything for someone, for a very specific customer. All right, then the last one. Oh no, two left. Engaging employees. I think I will take this one. Employee engagement, very, very important. We do regular employee engagement surveys where we ask feedback about how we are, like company culture, what could be improved, etc. So I didn't used to do that. We have started that in the last few years. Super, super helpful. It's good. Like if you have a big team, it's super valuable to hear also the things that are not working. I personally think that feedback is gold, because that's the fastest way how you can improve. And so ask for feedback and don't be afraid to hear things that you don't like or you wouldn't like to see there, because then you can fix those things. And so we run those employee engagement surveys where we measure employee NPS, net promoter score. Would you recommend this company for somebody else as a workplace? We are scoring pretty well there, but still there are some people that are unhappy because of various reasons. And if you learn, you can improve on those reasons. And then in the very early days, so this is already at pretty large scale. In the very early days, like you, the founder, you are the culture. How you act, how you behave, that sets the tone for the company, and that will create, also evolve, and will be replicated even when you are like 500 people company. So all the things that are not working, I can blame only myself that I didn't notice them quicker, or that was my own behaviors that led to that company culture. Any other related questions on the company culture? Good. All right, then you are looking for a new CEO, right? Finding a new CEO. So I think that was. I realized that I'm spending most of my work, most of my time on company operations. We are an operationally heavy company. Like we have a lot of operational part because we are dealing with physical products. We are printing them, shipping them, dealing with returns and various other stuff. And so much of my time went into dealing with those operations. And so I realized for myself that I think I can, like at least from the feedback from my peers, my strongest area is creativity, not administrative side, not execution. And so I decided that I want to change it. I have to say that it was hard decision at the beginning because I felt like failure. I felt like if I'm not the CEO until we make this a multi-billion-dollar company, I'm failing. I'm not fulfilling the expectations that I set for the investors. So it was quite some thought process to get over this and to rethink it if this is really something that is respectful to do. And I socialized this idea with a couple of investors. To my surprise, they were very supportive. A couple of them had done the same in the early childhood. Actually, the most influential person on this for me was Richard Branson. When we had a conversation, he was like, "Yep, I have never been CEO, and I hate to go to board meetings. I actually don't go to board meetings." And in the very early days, in his already early 30s, he had great ideas. He had a vision for those ideas, but he would find people who are much better than him in execution and building the vision that he has. And so this is what I have been trying to do. I'm incredibly happy to have found a very strong CEO, Anastasia Olenika. I feel incredibly strongly about her. I think I was very lucky that we had strong enough candidate from inside the company. I think that is the best way. Also, statistically, I remember reading a book. I think it was a book about being a COO. And statistically, the strongest CEOs are hired from within the company. They know the company, they know the culture, they know the processes. And so I was very, very lucky to find have a very strong candidate within the company. It was interesting because I have my team is the other executives on my team are male over in the age range between 38 and 50. And the strongest candidate was a female who was the youngest from them all. So I was very happy about that because we had a bad feedback about being very white male dominant leadership, and now we can say that no, it's not because we would be sexist, but we have a female who will be leading the company. And if you ever are looking for a new CEO, feel free. I can share some experiences. We also looked for outside CEOs to have a comparison. Went through quite some process, and I feel very, very strong about Anastasia taking my role over. And I will transition to executive chairman role, where I will be working with the leadership team. I will be focusing more on new directions, new strategies, helping the team with strategic decisions, not so involved in the daily operations. We have very, very big ambitions, big dreams, and I feel that I will be able to contribute more on the creative part, thinking about the future and the vision. I didn't have a COO as well. And if I were to build again a company, I would make sure I have really, really strong second in command. Like my working with Anastasia has been such a pleasure for the last year. And so having somebody who's really, really strong, really smart, fast, clever, like it is super helpful. And of course, at different stage, you need different caliber. But so that's why I recommend like having a co-founder is super helpful. And as you scale the company, as it grows bigger, like try to make sure find somebody who has more expertise in the areas where you don't have, who is very smart, dedicated, and who could help you to build a really strong organization. Perfect. I hope all right. Good question. So I will answer. So the question was related about the speed of change that you need to change all the time, and how do you like? Do I have any tools to change fast enough and find ways how to innovate and how to recreate a company? Because that's like in the early days we were growing like 500, 400, 300% year over year. So the after 6 months, the company is like very different than it was 6 months ago, because you have almost double the amount of employees. As you increase the number of employees, the existing structures break, and you need to have new processes in place. So what I recommend, like highly recommend, when you look for early employees, you need to look for people who are builders, who like to build stuff, who like to create stuff. And what I call this, like that instrument, what you asked about is, and what Anastasia is incredibly strong at, is dissatisfaction with status quo. So when I look for when I look for a strong performer, I would look if for example, when I looked for a CEO, a very important character for me was that positive dissatisfaction with status quo. And what I mean by that is that that person everywhere sees opportunities to improve. This could be improved, that could be improved, this process could be improved, here we could change the structure. So that, and not only they are complaining, oh James, like this is not working, we need to do something about it, but they are actually figuring out, all right, diving deep into the problem, understanding the root cause of the problem, and coming up with a solution. because you will need to recreate the organization very often, every 6 months, if you are growing fast. And you need to watch out for big name hires. So often when you get the first money, I heard several people raising money here today. I hope it works out. Don't be flashed by big names like hiring somebody from Microsoft or hiring somebody from Google, because what can happen is that you hire somebody who has been running a well-oiled machine, and they know how to maintain things. And when you interview them, it's pretty hard to tell the difference between is this person good at maintenance, or are they actually good at building stuff. And so that is something that you need to watch out, and try to look for people who are dissatisfied with status quo, who proactively come up with ideas how things can be improved, so that you are not the only person looking for opportunities to improve things. All right. I'm sorry I didn't address the shipping strategy. I don't think it would be relevant. I'm very dissatisfied with our things. We have a bunch of things we want to improve there. We can improve there. So yeah, to close this up, it's for all those who want to build a company, and for those all who like startups. I think if you don't want to build a company, join a startup. I think it is a roller coaster. Like, there is ups and downs, but after some period of time, like 5, 7 years, 10 years, when you will look back at your roller coaster, I wish every one of you that you would look back at your roller coaster and would appreciate the amount of experience and the joy that you got from every time that you were up, having that sense of achievement of building something, having built a product that millions of customers around the world is using, that they are saying, thank you, your product is great. And that really makes you feel good at the evening when you go to bed, and after a really long and tired day, that you are creating something meaningful that helps many other users. So I wish you a lot of success in building your own startups. Thank you so much for having me.